Very good morning, friends. Hope you can see me, my presentation, and you can hear me well. With wishes for a wonderful morning, we are going to begin session 5. Actually, today we'll be delving into your actual research writing process. We happen to navigate through the background and, of course, around the basics, such as voice, and, of course, how to make use of the generative AI facility in your writing. And today we'll be starting to put all that practice into your pen and paper where you're going to write your research. So let me wish you all a very good morning. I'm just wondering, why don't you confirm me my audibility and visibility? Why don't you even read me? Are you afraid of me?
We can hear you, sir.
Thank you, Tilanka. Well, all right. So once again, very good morning to everyone. Today we are working on one very specific writing problem. What is it? How to guide a reader from a broad field into the exact reason your study is needed. Now, you're pitching your study within a very broad field, but whatever you are pitching should reach your reader. And by the time your reader reach your writing, the reader should feel, oh my God, this is coming from this field. Oh my God, this is the problem. Oh my God, this guy is gonna answer this problem. Our view is actually we are looking at our own research writing process from the boots of the reader. So we develop, scaffold, or plan our writing with supporting mechanism for the reader to understand it easily. So when I say, as we are working on one very specific writing problem, which is how to guide a reader from a broad field into the exact reason your study is needed. I'm not actually asking you to write a full introduction this morning. That would be too heavy. And it would not be fair to the different stages of your research. I know that some of you are in the early stages of your research. Some of you are still preparing your proposal. Maybe some of you are somewhere in the middle of your research, somewhere, right? So knowing that you are here and there in your trajectory of research, it is not actually fair for you all to force to write a full introduction. But our task is smaller and actually useful. By the end, each of you should have a short research space sequence. Think of it as a sort of a path. First, you set the reader see the field. Then the reader sees an unresolved need. Then the reader sees why your study belongs there. You see? Very simple plan. This writing and the reading of the researcher is actually a path. We let the reader see the field first, then we actually let the reader sees the unresolved need within that field, and then the reader sees why your study belongs there. Now, I'm inviting you to keep the worksheet open, which is given in the folder, because today the slides will lead you through short decisions, but that will be, at the end of the day, converted into your own drafting. You know, the research cycle or other research genre begins with IMRAD structure. I for introduction, M for methods, RAD results and discussion. So that is typically the central story of you, but this is backed by something called literature review as well. So we'll be navigating through each of these episodes. Today we'll start it with I, introduction. Give me a little response, maybe by means of a thumbs up or any emotion. Are you ready to move along this path? I'm sure my introduction is clear. Well, all right. Thank you. So you are in the mood to navigate through the introduction today. All right. Now I'm inviting you to read the two openings silently. Do not hurry to decide which one sounds more impressive. Simply read it. But make a decision which one helps you understand more quickly why a study may be needed. In the chat, you may type A or B or both, but do not try to explain. Just answer the question, which one helps you understand more quickly why a study may be needed from A and B. I will give you 30 seconds. Read both A and B and decide which one helps you understand more quickly why a study may be needed. You can type in chat A or B or both. I'm beginning to receive your responses. I don't reserve much of a variety in your answers. Now the variety appears, yeah. I have seen most of you were voting for B, but all of a sudden I received both, and now I received a vote for A as well. Any further votes? Please continue. Thank you very much for your responses, which convinces me that you are connected with me, right? Now, if you choose B, look again at the sentence and identify the exact wording that created a sense of research need. If you choose B, look again at the sentence and identify the exact wording that created a sense of research need. Those who have chosen B and both, all must be having this problem. You all should encounter this problem. That's it. Look again at B, look again at the sentence and identify the exact wording that created a sense of research need. What words made the sense of a research need? Can you respond it in chat? Those who have opted B, tell me now. Identify the exact wording that created a sense of research need. Great. Shall I invite some of you, those who have responded, to speak out loud and tell? Can I hear from Gizara first?
Yes, good morning.
Good
So,
morning.
yeah, actually, with the sentence in the sentence B, it has clearly mentioned it means. So, what has been already investigated and what has not been is still remains uncertain. So, it's clearly said, although several low carbon binders have been investigated, the performance under humid tropical exposure remains uncertain, which clearly indicating us that the specific area is still research on that specific context, which means that we would need to do there is a research need in that area.
Thank you, Gizara, for opening the platform. You see, now this is the kind of entry that we open for our reader to look at our research. We set something and we tell them what is around and we tell that there is a need for research. So without this particular convincing, don't expect your reader to read your article, read your research. Thank you for starting. Yes. Can I hear one more response, probably from Ayesha? What may be appealing to you?
Yes, sir. In here, mainly, it introduces normally in specific research problems, and it identifies issues of the carbon emission from cement production. And so, when considering it identify a research gap, including their performance under humid tropical explore remains uncertain. So, I think that's the reason for extract place for help research need was emerging. That's the answers.
Well, thank you, Ayesha. I like one word that you trace us there, gap. Gap. All right. So what is the point here? An introduction should not begin by displaying everything the researcher knows. You must be knowing a lot about the subject. But don't expect your reader to know everything that you already know. It should help the reader enter the precise research space, that's number one, which tells a broader sentence with something may be true, but true background is not always useful background. Now you might think, giving lots and lots of details about the background might set the ground for your introduction, but it's not the case. Your reader should have a reason for reading it. And at the very first glance, with a simple glimpse, he or she should be able to detect, oh my God, this guy is researching on this and this is the gap he identified, or yes. Do you get it? So we are working on how to build up such an appealing introduction step by step today. Are you all happy to see what you're going to do? No one speaks. Why? Am I so aggressive? All right, no need to question it further. Let's move on. Why opening B helps the reader enters? Let us name what happened in the stronger opening. Do you see the stronger opening in B did three things using two sentences? What are the three things it's done? First, it gave us a field or problem. Then, second, it told us some work already exists there. Third, it pointed to something still uncertain. That is why the reader has a reason to continue. Now notice that the text did not claim that no one has studied low carbon binders. It made a more careful claim. One performance context remains uncertain. You see? That is easier to defend, and it leads more mutually and naturally to a study. This is the pattern we will work with today. We are moving from field to the need to the study. Now you see, from a bigger field to the need and to the study. So it's a funnel where we are opening with the big space, which is field, and we guide them towards a need, and in the small neck of the funnel, we say what your study and what you are going to prove in your study. Now this field, current work and need, the three spaces, we will name them as field, current work and need right now, but later we will call this in three different names. As William B. Hurt in his book introduced, they are contributing to something called TNO framework, which means territory, niche, and occupy. How you show them a territory, and how you highlight the niche, and how you occupy with your research the gap exists therein. I'm sure that you are happy to hear that your story has such a wonderful beginning in the introduction, and you are going to navigate it today. Are you happy to see what you're going to do today? Give me just a response on chat, at least yes or no. Is this something that you expected? All right. So let's move on. Now, last night we actually had session 4, where AI and the very technical background which we are sufficed with, we are given a very versatile large language model support, and let us connect with this, the memory we had last night. Imagine that an AI tool gives you this sentence. You see, few studies have examined X. Does that prove that a research gap exists? Please type yes or no, or depends. Does this sentence, few studies have examined X? Does that prove that a research gap exists? You can type yes, no, or depend. Depends. I'm waiting you to respond. Does this sentence prove? Does this sentence prove that a research gap exists? Yes, Mahesh, yes, recordings will be uploaded towards this evening. No worries. Tilanka, do you think that this particular sentence proves that there is a research gap?
I think mostly yes, sir, because My reasoning is only few studies have examined X, so that is not fully covered. So maybe research gap exists.
Well, thank you for those who have responded. Most of you have said depends and few yes and no's. All right. We are not having a debate about AI in general, but we are focusing on researcher responsibility. AI may help you trace a possible gap, but it cannot make the real gap. You must know which studies exist, what they did, what remains unresolved, and why that absence matters. Without providing reasons for these questions, what are the questions? When they say few studies have examined X, you must know which studies exist there, what they did, what remains unresolved, and why that absence matters. This is also why today's portfolio artifact, which you are going to submit at the end of the day, includes a gap evidence note. If you make a gap claim, you should be able to say what evidence you still need to verify. So let us navigate through this path. I'm sure that you are going to be enlightened on how to begin your introduction with what we are going to do today, right? Now, letting AI decide whether there is a real gap is a decision that you all have to make, but questioning it, what, which research, what content of the research, what is unresolved, and why that absence matters, all that should be things that you as the researcher has to defend. Well, let's move on and see. What is today's central question? This is our central question for the entire morning. How can I guide a reader from the wider research area to a precise reason my study is needed? You see, how can I guide a reader from the wider research area to the precise reason my study is needed? Good. This is not only a language question. It's also a thinking question. You see, it reflects a lot of the way that you think and the way that your reader thinks. If the reader cannot see the need for the study, don't expect the reader go on valuing your method or results or the contribution. So first give him the need for the study. We will use the three labels. What are they? T for territory, N for niche, and O for occupy. Territory means particularly the field or problem the reader should understand first. So reader should understand the bigger territory in which your research falls in. Then niche means the specific need or limitation that still remains there. And what do you mean by occupy? Occupy means how your study responds. These labels are tools for guiding the reader. Keep in mind that we are planning our writing trajectory, guiding the reader, because our objective is our reader, right? Don't ever think that these are as rigid formulas that every discipline must copy. We are simple, very holistic level, simple ideas that you can apply across your discipline to ensure that you guide through your reader. Did you get it? How do you feel about this part of the explanation today? Now, to begin your introduction, I have provided you with some reasons. Are you happy with them? Can I hear from one of you?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's very interesting, and it looks like we are going to start a journey from writing from the beginning. So I'm looking forward. It's very interesting.
Thank you, Mahesh, for opening up your mouth. All right, let's move on and see how interesting this journey is going to be. So we are hanging around one central question: how can I guide a reader from wider research area to the precise reason my study is needed? This is typically the function you perform in your introduction. Well, these are our learning outcomes for the day. I want the outcomes to feel manageable, actually. You do not need to leave today with a full introduction. Instead, you should be able to identify the moves, make the gap more specific, align the purpose with the gap, and draft a short sequence. And this is also what Portfolio Artifact 5 asks for. It is a research space map plus an original and revised sequence of 5 to 7 sentences. Your artifact will allow you to show your thinking without asking for a complete chapter or an article section. This is deliberate. We are building one reliable part of the introduction first. We are not going to, I'm not going to guide you through the entire introduction, but I'm going to guide you through the thinking process that you have to manipulate in your reader, and you will decide how you are going to do it. All right. This is leading to portfolio entry, that is artifact 5. And therefore, I wish that by now you have the worksheet next to you, which you can download from the Moodle. Well, I have put them all in a single folder so that you can download the whole thing and start with today's work. The TNO framework. Actually, this slide guides us through the entire framework of an introduction. Territory, niche, and occupy. In Hertz's term, William B. Hertz, Stanford professor, who wrote Write Like a Scientist. In his terms, the introduction defines research territory. It establishes a niche in the territory and then occupies the niche by showing how the present study responds to it. And at the same time, Wahlberg gives a similar guideline, but he uses a set of questions. What he says is, in an introduction, you answer these questions. What are they? What is the problem? Why solutions or work? What solutions or work already exist there? And what is their limitations? What gap I am hoping to fill? What do I hope to achieve? You see? We, instead of using Wahlberg's questions, we'll be putting this into a simpler set of labels, which William B. Hertz uses, TNO. Territory, niche, and occupy. Because it is easy to remember. But please do not turn it into a mechanical template. It's not a mechanical template. Some papers might need a longer territory, whereas the others may need a shorter one. Some needs quicker move to the niche. Maybe others expect a slower move into that. Some disciplines announce results early, others do not. The principle is actually the reader guidance. This is not a template. This is simply a guiding process for your reader, and with which we establish our connection with them. So ensuring that our story of research is properly communicated to your reader. Territory, niche, and occupy. They describe a communicative work. They are not fixed paragraph headings or universal sentence formula. Keep that in mind. So let's begin to understand what each of these territory, niche, and occupy mean, and how we can pitch our research story into this little framework. So move T. This actually establishes the territory. We begin with territory. The keyword is enough, right? No need to move deep. The reader needs enough context to understand why the coming problem matters. The reader does not need a history of the whole field. For example, if your study is about corrosion monitoring in coastal concrete structure, you probably do not need to begin with the invention of concrete, right? You may need to begin with the exposure condition, the problem of deterioration, and the need for monitoring. That's it. Territory should help the reader move towards the niche. If a background sentence does not help that movement, it may be true, but unnecessary. So don't try to overload all you know on your reader's mind, right? Because perhaps your reader needs just a reason for him to look for your methods and your results with a clear statement of territory to niche and occupancy. Get it? Well, let's move on and see how this simple move T sets up your introduction. It simply answers the question, what field, what problem, or what practical situation should the reader understand first? So setting up the territory means giving the reader the first idea in which field your research falls in, what problem you are going to solve, and what is the practical situation in and around the field that you are trying to navigate. Clear? All right. Let's move. So we are going to make a territory decision. A. Useful, unnecessary, or depends. Let us try the first territory decision. Look at the sentence. Coastal concrete structures are frequently exposed to chloride-induced deterioration. For a study on corrosion monitoring, would you mark this as useful or unnecessary or depends? Please type your choice on chat. If you just look at this sentence, for a study on corrosion monitoring, would you mark this as useful sentence or unnecessary sentence, or it depends? Send me your response on chat. Is it useful or unnecessary or depends? That's my question. And Malsha says it depends. Why, Malsha? It depends. Why or how?
I think according to our study, it depends. Our study, like what kind of study we are doing and what kind of materials or what kind of place we are selecting to our study, it can depend.
All right, I admit. Udara, you say it's useful. How useful is it?
Well, you said when you're starting the paper, we shouldn't overload our audience with everything we know about the subject. So I think this one gives a clear starting point instead of giving a general idea about concrete. So I think because of that, it tells the reader about what's the actual problem and why corrosion monitoring matters in this case. So I think it's useful.
Thank you, Udara. Very valid point. All right. Those are the two answers, useful and depends. I asked two of you why. Well, the sentence is probably useful if the study concerns, if the study's concern is concrete durability, coastal exposure, or monitoring methods. Right? It gives the reader a practical problem and prepares the ground for the study. However, even a useful sentence must be placed in the right scope. If the paper is already for a highly specialized corrosion journal, the writer may not need to explain too much. Now remember, what I'm referring to you is, if this is written for a highly specialized journal in corrosion studies, your writer may not need explaining too much. He may be willing to just get into the problem early. But if you're writing this to a very generic audience, maybe he needs a bit of a background. So what I'm telling is that there is no fixed decision on yes or no. It depends on the context that you are writing it to. Keep in mind, in session 1 and 2, we realized that all of our writing should be fit into the audience we are writing for. So this particular sentence, as Udara correctly said, for a concrete or corrosion journal reader, this is a very good starting point. Without beating around the bush, the reader knows, oh my God, yes, it's about chloride-induced deterioration, coastal area thing. Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's fit to a corrosion journal, or rather an audience who knows about the subject. All right. So the takeaway here is, once again, though we directly put our question into the reader's mind, once again, we should have an idea behind our mind who my reader is, right? So there is no concrete formula. This particular way should you write the introduction, but your formula should be adaptable to your audience. If the audience demands a greater background, you should give it. And if the audience is an expert in the field, you don't need to beat around the bush. You can directly jump into the question. You got it? I wish. Each and every audience needs a particular requirement, but for all audiences, setting up the territory is the first thing that you have to do in your introduction. Let's move on. Now we are going to make a decision B. So this is another sentence. Concrete has been used for thousands of years and is one of the most popular materials in the world. Can you now say me whether it is useful, unnecessary, or depends? You can type your answer. This sentence is not wrong, but a sentence can be true and still be poor in territory if it delays the reader from entering the real research problem. I'm giving you too much information before you. Well, Tilanka or Tilanka? Tilanka, right?
Tilanka.
Yes, Tilanka. Why did you feel it unnecessary?
Because I think it's well known that concrete has been used for thousands of years. I mean, if in related area, people know this fact. So I think because of that, this is unnecessary. It doesn't provide any, provide any useful information to the researchers.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good point to begin. To be frank, this actually delays the reader from entering the real research problem, isn't it? It delays. Reviewers often complain when introductions are too broad or when the background is not clearly related to the objective of the paper. Now, when I read and correct some of the master's and PhD thesis, I'm not correcting any of those or rather marking any of your ones because I'm coming from a humanities field. When I correct, I see that they typically beat around the bush without telling what is the central question, without revealing the territory. They are delaying the message. So, along several paragraphs. So what happens? Your reader becomes tired reading it because a reader has a very limited time to read all what nonsense you are writing there. Reader should know a reason for him to read your article, right? And this is a popular complaint from reviewers. What? Broader introductions and background is not clearly related. So our test is not truth alone. There is a test of truth as well, but our test is actually usefulness for reader, right? Now, our test is usefulness for this reader in this document for this research problem. Now, see, you're writing a particular document for a particular reader and you are pitching a research problem. So you have to centralize all these threads of discussion. A particular reader in mind, you are writing a particular document, maybe a grant proposal, maybe a research proposal, maybe a research paper, whatever. And you have a research problem in mind. You have to manage all these three threads together to ensure that you correctly pitch your introduction, right? Yes, Mahesh, you make a remark. Well, Mahesh, would you like to speak what you wish to say here?
Also, when you say like you are coming from the social sciences and other kind of like, the education backgrounds, you have like, you will see a lot like that. And I was just mentioning in even my previous writing research, I used to do a lot of like introduction and a lot of blushing here and there. So this shows like, how it need to be very, very focused. So it's very interesting to see that one. So I'm just like, adding to the point you mentioned, you have seen it. So coming from the same background, I also have seen a lot around that one. So it's not really like, direct into the question. This is very important.
Thank you, Mahesh. That feels me safe because, what I feel is actually your experience as well. Well, let's move on and see what now decision B. So some of you have said it's useful. No, none of you have said it's useful, but you all have said unnecessary, depends, unnecessary, yes. Perhaps too much of detailing and unnecessary, what we call background may delay the reader receive your message. Do not mess your introduction with unnecessary detailing. Let's move on and see. So we have made two decisions. First thing is direct statement or rather directly pitching your territory to the niche, preparing the person for the niche, indicating the territory. In first decision, we come to know that it's going to be very effective. And here we realize that beating around the bush, giving too much detail in the introduction is going to actually diverge your reader or rather delay your reader receiving the question. All right, let's move on. Now we are moving to the second move, that is niche, establishing the niche. This is the heart of the research space. A niche is not a decorative gap press. Don't ever think that niche simply can be filled with a decorative gap press. It is actually the specific reason the study is required, needed. It may be perhaps an unresolved question, maybe a limitation in current methods. It can be a context that has not been tested, or perhaps inconsistent findings in the field, or rather a practical problem, or it may be demanding for a new application. So your niche could be anything from an unresolved question to limitation in a current problem, current methods, to a context which is not properly tested, to an inconsistent finding context, or the need for a practical problem or a new application. So your niche could be something among those. A strong niche actually creates fair expectation. Not great expectations, but a fair expectation. Your reader should be given a reasonable expectation with your research as a solution, but not very big expectations. The reader begins to think, I can see why this study was done. So you should give that convince. Oh, I see. This is why this man is doing this research. You should give that pulse to your reader. That is what we actually need, what we want. If the niche is vague and exaggerated or disconnected from the purpose, your whole introduction is going to be weaker and weaker. Did you get the point? So it cannot be just a decorative gap press. It should be a clear but specific reason with which your study is going to be made necessary. Are you getting me, guys? Did you get what niche means? Can I hear a response on chat? All right, let's move on, navigating niche further. Remember, a gap is not always some missing research. This slide is really important. Many young researchers learn one phrase. What is it? Few studies have examined. Less study happen to take place in this area. So when you read through dissertations and papers, this is going to be a common decorative phrase. But that phrase alone does not create a strong gap. A reader can still ask, which studies meant? How few? In what context you are arguing? Why does the absence matter? So your reader may be asking those questions. Sometimes it can be a local absence. That does matter. Remember that it is a typical Sri Lankan or tropical context, right? The bigger thing is we must show why. Why? For example, if climate, policy, material properties, population or infrastructure conditions differ, the local context may become a real research need. But geography by itself is not always enough. Today, whenever you write a gap, ask what is unresolved, what is limited, what is inconsistent, or what is still untested, and why does that matter? Am I making your thinking clear, or am I complicating you? This is about a common mistake that most of the young researchers do. They start with missing research. Few studies exist. This topic is important. No one has used my exact variables. There is no local studies. Just telling these words do not convince your reader. They have so many questions, right? What questions do they have when they say, no studies? Which studies? You say few studies. How few? Right? Where? In which context this is fever? Right? Why the hell that this absence matter? These questions could always arise in your reader's mind, and you should be answering those questions little by little, right? So when you place your gap, or rather when you clear the niche, ask several questions. What are they? What is unresolved? What is limited? What is inconsistent? What is still untested? Ask all these questions and say, why does that matter? Did you get an idea? How should you begin your introduction with? In your introduction, after revealing the bigger field, territory, now you are digging into the niche. I think it's all right. Give me a thumbs up if you are ready with what I happen to reveal you. If you have any disagreement, please speak and tell me. Because your disagreements may have a valid reason. Anyone who disagrees with what I was arguing here, it's all right to have disagreements because agreements typically leads to one end. Disagreements will lead to a proper end. That's my understanding. Dear friends, anyone who may be having a different idea, this is time for you. What this pregnant silence says. Perfect. Let's move on. Now, I'm revealing you 4 useful niche types. Please look at them quietly first. You may have a knowledge uncertainty at the beginning. We do not yet know the relationship between two things, perhaps between A and B, X and Y, right? There can be a knowledge uncertainty. If such is there, that's a perfect niche for you to tackle. All right? Or else, you may have a methodological limitation. How? Current methods work, but not in the field. No, at low-cost environments. You see? Maybe the current methods work, but not in your field, but not for low-cost context. So that can be another niche you can try. That is method limitation. You may have a context limitation as well. There are evidence exists, but not for a tropical climate context. Maybe it's not about Sri Lankan material. Maybe it's not addressing to a local population, or maybe to a specific engineering environment. So there can be a context limitation. Now your niche could be targeting one or many of these niche types. And the last, what is it? Contradiction. In a contradiction, what happens is previous studies do not agree. So when you detect either a knowledge uncertainty, a method limitation, or a context limitation, or perhaps a contradiction, actually these types help you move beyond just a vague statement of indicating that, this is what you're going to do. Instead, you do not go into a simple vague statement like few studies exist. Now, let me have your attention to your worksheet. Choose the type that best describes your study. Is it a knowledge uncertainty? Is it a method limitation? Is it a context limitation? or is it a contradiction? Do not worry if your study combines two types. It may be combining all four types, right? So try and pick up your niche. Try and pick up your niche. In your worksheet, label the niche type that best fits your research problem. Because I have to guide you through the worksheet that will lead you to achieve artifact 5 of your portfolio. Take time and think and identify what is your niche type. Is it knowledge uncertainty? Is it method limitation? Is it context limitation? Or is it contradiction in studies happened so far? So note it down there in your worksheet. Once you're done, give me a thumbs up so that we can move on. Your niche may be tackling not only just one of these types, maybe 2, maybe 3, or maybe all, right? It's all right to have a niche that tackles all this. Let me know what it is. You don't need to reveal me what your niche is, but make a note on your worksheet what your niche, or rather where your niche belongs to. Once you're done, give me a thumbs up so that I can move ahead. All right, all right. It seems that some of you are done. And I want to see a couple of thumbs up so that I know that you are done with your niche, detecting your niche and the areas which your research has niche. All right. All right. All right, let's move on. Now, we are going to make a quick gap judgment. Look at sentence A, statement A. But it says, no research has been concluded on this topic. That is a very strong claim and usually difficult to defend, isn't it? It probably needs evidence and often it should be softened or made more specific. Right? For A, what you decide, is it defensible? Does it need evidence? Is it too vague? Don't worry about the first question. Let's move on to the second because I want to explain what lacks there. Okay, statement B. Thermal imaging reliability under changing ambient temperature remains uncertain. Is it defensible? Does it need evidence? Or is it too vague? Let me see your response on chat. We are considering sentence 2, statement B. Is it a defensible statement? Or does this statement need evidence? Or is it too vague? Just make your decision. And respond me in chat. I'm waiting for everyone to respond. Uttara, thank you. And Yatmi, thank you. Tarsha, thank you. Well, so the general view of statement B is that it is more focused, isn't it? It tells us the method and the uncertainty. You see? Yes, it needs evidence, but as a statement, we can begin with such a thing which is defensible. So in the sentences coming behind it, we'll be able to provide evidence. All right. Let's move on to statement C. Very few studies exist in Sri Lanka. Is it defensible? Does it need evidence? Or is it too vague? I'm asking statement C. Indeed. It may be useful, but it is too vague unless we explain why Sri Lanka context matters. Without bringing in why Sri Lankan context matters, just a statement like this may sound too vague, right? All right. Let us move to statement D. Low-cost devices remain insufficiently evaluated. Low-cost devices remain insufficiently evaluated. Is it defensible? Does it need evidence? Is it too vague? Now go to your worksheet and mark your answers there. Make your decisions there. Actually, we are not looking for perfect answers. We are actually practicing the habit of asking whether a gap is specific, supported, and meaningful. Right? Statement D actually points to a limitation in the type of device being studied, but it needs evidence, I admit. But it looks a little defensible. All right. Make your judgment about A, B, C, and D in your worksheet as well, right? Make your decisions there. We are not looking for perfect answers, I told you. Perfect answers are on the way, and you are traversing in that path to reach it. No worries if you do not find the perfect answer right now. You're finding answers, and perfecting your answer is a matter of practice, right? We actually are practicing the habit of asking whether a gap is specific, supported, and meaningful. Well, I wish that you have made your decisions on the worksheet, because by the time you finish all this, you may submit that as your artifact file. Well, over there, shall we move on? Now, we are going to have a little pause for your personal niche. Now, think of your own research. You do not need to share this yet, but complete these 2 stems in your worksheet. First, existing research or practice has addressed something, isn't it? That something could be the method, maybe a population, maybe a material, a process, a model, or a setting, right? Second thing is, though existing research practice so, however, something remains uncertain, limited, inconsistent, or insufficiently examined. Keep it rough. You do not need to spend too much time polishing your sentence, but this is actually giving you a sort of a thinking sentence. It needs not to be a final thesis sentence. I will give you 3 quiet minutes to give your own reflection on your own personal research niche. Take about 3 minutes. I may invite some of you volunteers to share only the structure of the gap, not confident content, right? I will invite a couple of you. When you are invited, do not reveal any confidential content, but just tell us the niche of your research. Think for 3 minutes. I'll extend the time to 5 minutes. And you can take notes. You can fill in the meantime your worksheet as well. Think of it. Time counts. I'm giving you 3 to 5 minutes. Hello, friends. So, did you have a time to reflect on your niche, your personal niche? Can I hear from some of you? Who would like to share your personal niche? Maybe you fill these two sentences and tell us or read out loud how you set your personal niche. I will give the chance to someone who has not spoken a lot. Can I hear from Lizda from BS MSc Building Economics? Can I hear from you? Until Lizda's thoughts are getting ready, I would love to hear from Nilan from the Spatial Data Sciences. Nilan?
Yes, sir.
So can you talk about your niche, how you feel your personal, you don't need to reveal any confidential information about your research, but just if you feel these two sentences, how would you place your niche?
Yeah, my study basically kind of researching on human comfort, but this area has been very well studied. But monitoring this human comfort in spatial form, it's uncertain still. Even though we have different geospatial some analysis and methods, still this is kind of a gray area.
So you
So that's
have,
my research. Yeah.
so you have perfectly cleared what niche? A methodological?
Yeah. It's methodological.
Yes. Right. So now, Nilan, maybe if you dig deeper into it, you'll see it's not only methodological, right? There can be other
Knowledge
niche
gap
areas.
as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just,
the thing is, I'm doing the study for Sri Lankan context in tourism sector. So contextual
relevance
gap
is also
also
there.
there.
Perfect. So you see, how do you think, did this personal niche pause make any sense to reflect and think? How can you properly pitch it, project it in your introduction? Can I hear from one more? Any volunteer who would like to share your personal niche? Yetmi, are you there?
Yes, sir. So, so I am targeting a niche population. So basically, the standard methods are not adequately address their unique requirements when it comes to like taking measurements for the garments. So, so that is about a limitation in the method. So yeah, that's what my research gap is about.
Well, did you feel, Yetmi, this little moment that you reflected in your personal niche? Did it make any sense for you to feel like, aha, this is how I should do it?
I mean, first, I think we need to understand about the real requirements of them because I'm targeting the older population. So the the current methods are mainly focusing on younger bodies when we are taking measurements. So then, but when it comes to the older adults, they have totally different body variations, body postures, and there are so many changes. So then we have a limitation in that area to grab those unique requirements. So I think first we need to understand what exactly they need to have in their garments.
Thank you, Yadmi. Can I hear from Pratibha from the MSc program of architecture? Pratibha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Right. So
My study area is about fishing communities in Sri Lankan context and their communal spaces. So the existing research has addressed mostly about public spaces in Western context. Actually, when it's come to the fishing communities in Sri Lanka, they don't really have public spaces. It's like they have really intimate communal spaces. So however, insufficient examination is in context. So there's a context limitation, and when I deep down into my research, there's a method limitation as well.
So Pratibha, do you think that this exercise, which we have done so far for 5 minutes of thinking, did it make any sense for you to look at your research niche in a new way?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All the things that you have taught us, I have did all the wrong things during my dissertation when I'm doing my degree. Now I'm learning, and now I know how to scope, limit my scope and get into the without beating around the bush, like how to get into the point directly. So I'm still learning, but this means a lot.
Thank you, Pratibha. Well, so I think, are there any volunteers who would love to share your personal niche with us? I'll be giving you a chance. I actually wanted to get some of you who do not speak to come and speak. And I would love anyone who would like to share your own personal niche with us, so that, you know, that will convince others. How can you pick nicely, or rather precisely appealing personal niche for your research? Anyone? I'm not going to name many of you, but anyone who is willing to share, please do so. This is your class, this is your place, that this is your space. All right. It means that you want me to continue, not you who want to talk about it. All right. We are moving to see what we are going to do next. Now we are moving into the third move. What is it? O. We started with T, territory, and then N, niche, and we have navigated through 4 different niche areas. And now we are coming to the third move of our approach, that is occupying the niche. This is the third move is occupy. Once the reader sees the niche, the study now must respond to it clearly. Occupying the niche may mean stating a purpose, research question, objective, basic approach, or contribution. Now we see. Typically, occupy asks, what will the present study do in response to the identified need? Now you have shown the niche, And now you are going to say what you are going to do in your research. In some research articles, writers may also announce the main results early. Yeah. Now, research articles, you can announce the main results early because you write it after doing the research. But in a proposal, you may use future or aim through your language. You might indicate that in a form of an aim. In a completed study, you may report what your study did. But what the stage of your research is one thing. The most important thing in all researchers, which is study still planning or rather ongoing or completed, wherever you are, the important thing is alignment. Alignment of what? The purpose which you are going to tell in Occupy should not introduce a different problem which is different from what you indicated in the niche. It should answer the need that niche has already created. Did you get the point? So in occupying the niche, what you're doing is you are showing how your study responds to the void that you gap that you detected in your niche statement. Is it clear? Let me see a thumbs up if it is clear. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on and see how. Yeah, now we are going to look at two purpose statements. There is a weaker one on the left and a stronger one in the right. Look at the weaker version. What it says. Therefore, this study was conducted. Does it tell anything? It tells almost nothing, right? Yes, Akila, I'll be going on elaborating it, right? Yes, don't worry. Look at the weaker statement. Therefore, this study was conducted. It tells almost nothing. Am I right? Let's move on to the second, stronger version. Look at it. Therefore, this study evaluates whether a low-cost thermal camera can identify early moisture patterns under controlled temperature and lighting conditions. Identify, while you're reading this sentence, identify one piece of information it gives the reader. See whether this information comes from purpose. Is it objective? Is it the scope? Is it conditions? Or is it approach? Type in chat. While you're reading the second sentence, the stronger one, what does the stronger sentence tells us? Is it about the purpose, object, scope, condition, or approach? While you're reading and digesting, send me your response. You have to identify one piece of information it gives the reader. Is it purpose? Is it object? Is it the scope, conditions, or approach? I'm referring to sentence B, not B, stronger sentence. What piece of information does it give? Well, I saw Akila and Tilanka found there is a piece of information about the objective or other object. And Ushani found it reveals something about approach as well. And Mihiri found the conditions under which these are conducted. And Mahesh found approach, yes. What about the others? What piece of information it does give? Yes, Yatmi, conditions. right? Yes, Marsha, it reveals the approach. Indeed. Yes, Udara, it's part of the approach that is revealed here. Tarsha, you are correct. Yeah, it tells something about the object. Whether the thermal camera can identify, yeah, it's an objective. Yes, Hiruni, you detected. So, my dear friends, the lesson is simple. When you occupy the niche, the reader should see how your study responds to the exact need you identified. Now, in the niche, you identified an exact need. And here, you should, in your occupy move, you should actually identify or rather state how your study responds to the thing that you identified in the niche. So it's quite simply showing you the territory and then showing the gap and then telling how your study fills the gap. You got the point? So your introduction should be moving along this pattern of thinking. It's not a template. It's not, the titles of a template. It is actually your thinking pattern. You help your reader detect the territory, and then you help your reader find the niche or the gap exists in that particular territory. And now you pitch your research telling that how you're going to fill the gap with your study. So that is what you're going to do in your introduction. If the gap concerns low-cost devices under changing ambient conditions, the purpose should not merely say that the study investigates thermal imaging in general. Now, thermal imaging is one thing, and changing ambient conditions and low-cost devices is one thing. Now, you'll be studying the first, not the imaging, thermal imaging in general. So, in your niche, you identified a void or gap, and in your occupy, you should say how you fill the gap, not the new area that you're going to reveal in the occupy. I think by now, your three moves are clear. Starting to navigate the big territory, and then you pitch your gap, or rather the research gap. It could be knowledge gap, methodological gap, contextual gap, or perhaps contradiction in the previous research. And then you occupy that space with your research to fill that void. So that is what you're going to do in your introduction. Is it clear? I would love to see your thumbs up or thumbs down, or if you have any question, you can actually still post as a chat or as a voice response for me to understand how you grasp the content that we were discussing. Give me a response, my dear friends. Did you get how should you organize your introduction? We are not done yet, but I'm just asking at this very moment, have you got a clear idea as to how the territory, niche, and occupy, how can you move along your introduction, surfacing the territory, then the niche, and then the occupy your research with? No responses coming in. Does it mean that you understood nothing? Does it make sense, my dear friends, or do you need any clearance on any of the three moves? Please tell me, come on. We will go for a break soon, but before we go for the break, I need to know if you have got any question. Thank you, Asaji. Thank you, Tilanka. All right. Now you know how your thinking should be aligned with, well, Akila, where do you feel little lost? Is it on the territory or is it on the niche or occupy? Occupy. All right, all right, all right. All right. Ushani finds little. All right, perfect. I actually expected this. Now, Hiruni correctly says, everything we cover differs according to the audience, so it's a bit confusing about the application of TNO. Now, TNO is not a perfectly fixed, very iron strong template, right? It could be TNO, NTO, or OTN, whatever the order. But in your introduction, the easiest way is to use a funnel-like approach. The funnel, the bigger space, bigger curve tells the territory in which your research fills in. And then you are narrowing it down with evidence from your field. You identify the research gap. It could be a knowledge gap. It could be an evidence gap. It could be a methodology gap. It could be contradiction of evidence. So whatever the gap you identify, you pitch it in the niche, and then you jump into the smallest part of the funnel, which is what? In this bigger field, filling that little gap you identified, you are going to fill your research with answering the question or gap what you identified in the niche. That is simply the story. Have I cleared your doubt, or do I need to explain it further? Ushani, have you got a clearance on your niche? Confusion? And Akila, now about occupying, now having revealed your reader that your research falls within this big field, that is territory, and then having cleared it further, revealing what evidences are there, whether you are addressing a knowledge gap, a context gap, an evidence gap, or contradiction in the existing research, you clear where the niche is, where the gap is. And then in Occupy, what you're doing is quite simply, you tell how your research is going to address the niche the gap you identified. That's it. Did I clear your doubt, Akila? And what Hiruni said it quite right. Yes, the order of TNO, how you applied it, is going to be different depending on the audience that you address. Maybe your move on territory might need a lengthier explanation. It may be a lengthy move at the opening, revealing the territory, because if you're trying to inform an uninformed audience, you might need a lot of background details. But if you're writing it to a journal where this particular field is specialized, you need not to include any background detail. So it's true. Everything that we apply here in TNO, territory, niche, and occupy, is once again should be tailor-made to your audience. That's all right. Well, I think I was trying my best to clear the doubts of your introduction synthesis. Can we move on to the next slide and see what comes there. Can we?
Yep.
All right. We'll move on. There are two routes. This slide actually matters because not everyone in the class is at the same research stage. I know. Some of you are preparing proposals or perhaps early chapters, while others may be reporting completed work. You should choose the language that fits the actual stage of your study, right? If your work is something proposal level, proposed, you may write, this study aims to examine, this research will evaluate, or the study address the following question. So see, the language matters. It tells where your study currently hangs on. If the work is completed, you may write the other way around. How? This study examined or we evaluated. Do not turn a proposed study into a completed study merely because it sounds stronger. Now, one thing I noticed when I mark master thesis is that they have developed a proposal and that was written in future tense, telling that this study aims to examine, will evaluate and all that. But when they apply that in the chapter, while they are reporting the final thesis or dissertation, they use the same language. Can you do that? You should not, because by the time you report it with a dissertation, you are done with the research. So you have to convert that language into something done. And while at the proposal level, whatever you have promised might have changed while you are doing the actual research. So that changes should indicate in your report. I wish you got what I'm telling. Do not turn a proposed study into a complete study because of it sounds strong, and at the same time, do not use the proposal content as it is when you're reporting the completed study. So that is the simple idea. Academic writing is responsible writing. The tense and wording should match the real status of the research. It should tell the real status of the research. When you report it, you are done with the research. You are reporting it. I wish you get the simple point I am highlighting here. Well, we are going to make a tense decision. Tense is all about present, past, future, or rather continuous, perfect, and all that. Actually, we will handle tense lightly. We are not memorizing a tense table. We are not going to do that. The first thing is decide what kind of time relationship the sentence expresses. Can you respond to this particular question? What time relationship does the sentence express? Chloride exposure. Is it accelerates, or is it has accelerated, or is it accelerated steel corrosion? Can you send me in chat? What time relationship does the sentence express? Choose between accelerates, has accelerated, or accelerated. Come on. All right. Keep posting. All right. Now, just a couple of deviations. Most of you admit on It's simple present tense use. Let me tell you. Chloride exposure accelerates steel corrosion. This is presented as currently accepted knowledge. Yes, chloride exposure that accelerates steel corrosion. This is a very well established point of knowledge. Present simple is usually suitable for that, but it's a fact by now, right? If you use has accelerated, actually you create a different meaning. How? As though you are describing a historical change continuing into present. Now, present continuous, or rather, when you say has accelerated perfect tense, present perfect tense, it creates a different meaning. How? Then you are going to describe something historically changed and continuing to the present. But this is not the case. In this case, it's a fact that we already know and which is universally valid. If you use accelerated, the past tense, what happens? It sounds like a completed event in a specific study or period, not relevant to elsewhere. But this particular thing is a fact, right? So remember, tense is not only grammar. It tells the reader how to place the knowledge in time. So this particular fact, which is a well-known, what we call currently accepted fact of knowledge, it should present in simple present tense. And if you change it to accelerated, you are reporting it as something specific to a specific period in the past, which is not the case here. And if you relate it to has accelerated, you create a different meaning. How? You describe it as a historical change continuing to the present. But here the fact is, this is an accepted knowledge, so it should be presented in simple present tense. So you understand that tense is not only grammar. It tells the reader how to place the knowledge in time. You are dealing with previous knowledge, existing knowledge, testing knowledge, and of course, some knowledge tested and confirmed already. So when you put that in your writing, it is about how you place the knowledge in the timeline, right? It's not only grammar. So be careful about how you put tense in your language of introduction and everywhere, right? So let's move one step further. Tense decision 2 and 4, 2 to 4, 2, 3 and 4. Use meaning before grammar. Now we do 3 tense decisions quickly, all right? Look at the first. Several studies have examined electrochemical monitoring methods. Did I reveal you the answer? Choose what best fills the first sentence. Is it present, present perfect, past, or it depends? I need the answer in the options like present, present perfect, past, and depends. All right, let me create, and you can try it at second and third. All right. It is present perfect. Why? Several studies have examined electrochemical monitoring methods. This often uses present perfect because a body of research extends from some time in the past up to the present. Now it's a building up process of the knowledge up to now, starting from a past event. So present perfect tense puts there. But now it is your time to report me the answer for the center sentence. Fernando et al. Is it present, present perfect, past, or depends? Fernando et al. Reduce accuracy at high humidity. Is it past simple? You cannot have two answers, please. All right, yes. Yes, my dear friends, it should be reported in past because this study actually is referred to one completed study, Fernando, another study. So it is a study done. So it should be using the past tense. Okay, look at the third. This study. Now it is about your study. The performance of low-cost sensors. Does it depends on stage? Or can you report it as present, present perfect, past, or depends? Yes, you got it right. This, you can say this study examines, or rather you can say this study will examine, or you can say this study examine. You can say any of these three depends on whether you are writing a paper, writing a proposal, or a report of a completed work. If you're writing a proposal, it would say this study will examine. If you are writing a paper, you say this study examines. If you are reporting a completed work, you say this study examined the performance of low-cost sensors. Now, you understood how you should make use of tense in your reporting activity. Well, ladies and gentlemen, having spent almost nearly 2 hours, we are going to have a short break. Yes. Here we take the break. 12 minutes, no task. Now it is 1:48. Now it is 1 minute and 48 seconds. We'll be meeting at the second hour beginning. Now what time it is? 10:20. We'll be meeting at 10:32. We'll be having a 12 minutes break. Maybe if you are around your breakfast snack, have it, grab it, and have your time. Hello, friends. I'm back. Hope you are also back. Please come back. I request you to return ready to build your own research space sequence from territory to niche to occupy. And we have cleared through how tense could be used in such research space sequence. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do that part in this less than hour time left for us to finish the task. If you're back, please give me a thumbs up so that I know that everyone is next to the table dealing with me. Thank you. Perfect. Let's move on. Now, let us restart with a light but useful activity. Now, in this ABCD order, the sentences are in a mixed order. Please read them silently and type the order you think creates the clearest research space. There are 4 sentences, A, B, C, and D. This is like faster finger first, but there is no hurry. The accurate finger first. Choose between A, B, C, D, and tell me in the chat what is the order that you think. Creates the clearest research space. I'm waiting for your response. I've received only 2 responses here. Now, when you respond, do not worry about perfect punctuation, right? We actually are looking for a movement from where to where. Which sentence gives the broad problem, which narrows the method, which creates the niche, which occupies it? That's the answer. Type your order in the chat. The expected order is actually visible on screen. C, B, D, A. But I'm interested in hearing if anyone has a different order. We had a different order. Let me ask from Mihiri, why do you think B, C, D, A is the best order?
Hello.
Yes, Mihiri.
Okay. So first of all, we go with the T and O, like the thing we have learned. So in my answer, I go with answer like the B goes first as it's actually show the territory. and then in the C and D gives the niche, in my opinion, and then at the end, answer A gives like this study therefore evaluates whether like it gives the it's actually occupy and give what actually this research truly wants to do with the whole thing. So that's why I go with the answer B, C, D, and A.
So why don't you friends give a round of applause for Mihiri, because she actually found that territory in which this study falls in is on infrared thermography. That is what the territory which this particular study is going to be based on. It is a solution for moisture ingress and the concrete structure solution, but still, from which field she is going to find the answer? It is through infrared thermography. Why don't you guys give a round of applause? I want a gesture from you. Come on. Quickly give it. Yes, everyone. Thank you. Great. There is no wrong in using CBDA order even, but BCDA has a valid excuse because that, as Mihiri said, quite interestingly pause the territory first and then move on, right? So that's why I always say apply your critical knowledge to analyze the context given. It does not mean that those who have chosen CBDA are wrong. They have their own reasons. Well, good writing is not only about correct sentences, it's about the order in which the reader receives them. All right. That's a simple, what? Useful light activity. Let's move on to the real activity. Look at the TNO sequence. Now here the territory is moisture ingress causes deterioration. So if the study is all about moisture ingress solution, territory could be this. But actually, as Mihiri highlighted, this study is going to evaluate the detection ability of what? The thermal cameras. So territory should be thermal. You see? Now this is set for CBDA order, but if actually we are looking at BCDA order, the territory is not moisture ingress, but what? Thermal cameras detection ability to put a solution for that. All right. Now you see the order is quite simple. The order expect the methods to explain the camera, condition, sample, measurement, and evaluation. Okay. So now you have realized that certain things are apparently correct, but there can be much more impactful other way around as well. So let us set our writing, sets up reader to expect what comes next and all, because this is all an activity where we project some new knowledge into a reader, and reader receives it as new knowledge among the existing knowledge. So he should start with territory and should know the niche, and then you occupy your study in your introduction to pitch your study as something appealing to the reader. So let's move on. We are going to do a research space audio activity right now. You are drafting 5 to 7 sentence sequence, not a full introduction, right? So we are going to try it in a main application. Now, go to the worksheet in which it gives Research Space Studio section of the worksheet, right? The sequence has 4 stages. What are they? First, map your territory, niche and occupy decisions. First, map your territory, niche, and occupy decisions. Then, second, draft 5 to 7 sentences. And the third part of the activity is you ask your partner to check whether the niche and purpose aligns. Fourth, based on the revisions you receive from your friend, you revise one sentence before we close, right? Remember that you are not writing a full introduction. You are building the opening movement. That's it. It is better to have 5 clear sentences than long paragraph full of unconnected backgrounds. Develop them as 5 different sentences, 5 separate clear sentences. Work first with your own research. If you do not yet have a precise topic, use the broadest credible version of your current project. So you are going to work with your own project, right? And what are the sequence? First, map your territory, niche, occupancy decision. Then draft 5 to 7 sentences. Then ask your partner to check whether the sentences align. For last stage, revise and close. So that is the task we are going to do, right? So for that, preparing, when you speak with your partner, make sure that you're not going to, once again, try a lot of words or waste your time. When you speak with your partner, please use only these 4 questions. This keeps the peer task light and focused. First, where does the niche become visible? Second, does the purpose respond directly to that niche? Third, is any gap claim too broad or unsupported? Fourth, what does the reader expect the study to do after this sequence? Ask your peer these 4 questions. Please do not correct every grammar error, right? This is not a proofreading activity. This is a thinking, ordering activity, right? This is a reader guidance activity. And when you interact with your friend, there where you meet the reader. If your partner sequence has one clear problem, maybe vague gap or purpose that does not match the gap, help them notice the issue, right? After this activity, one useful observation is quite sufficient. We don't need big deal. Well, we are moving to the activity. So, we are going to connect this activity to the portfolio, right? Portfolio 5 artifact 5 is not a full introduction. It should have 6 compact components: your research context and route, the TNO map, the original sequence, the revised sequence, a short decision commentary, and a gap evidence note. That is what you expect, but I expect you to add as a 5th artifact of your portfolio. The gap evidence notes is important. It asks you to state what evidence you still need to verify before making the gap claim. Actually, this continues our session 4 principle. A researcher remains responsible for evidence and judgment. If you complete the worksheet carefully today, most of the portfolio artifact will already be drafted. Now, this is the outcome, and I am telling once again, for those who are live joining today, you can do it with a peer in this very moment. And those who watch this recording and try it, try to find a person who is not absent, but who happen to watch the video and follow through and consult them for that activity and do that peer interaction task as a must. Without that, this activity is not going to be complete. So, my dear friends, shall we move on to the activity now? We have about 30 of you. Most of you are leaving. I don't know why, right? Make use of this time. I'm dividing you into pairs and think of your own research activity. Is there anything that I need to clear? I think if you refer to the worksheet and the details given in Moodle, there won't be any problem doing this activity. So let me divide you into what? Breakout rooms. We have 30 of you, including me. So I'll be dividing you into 15 groups. One person might remain single, but even within the single space, you do your own work and you can send your write-up back to me so that I'll be helping you as the partner. Now you have 20. Let me divide you into groups. Okay.
How long we have for this?
Well, we have about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Your rooms are open. Join your friends and be part of the work. Lizda, Pasilu, and Harshadi. Maybe you are not live here, but the session is being recorded. All right. Others, please continue. So welcome back, my dear friends. I know that you didn't have enough time to complete the whole task, but I'm sure that you had enough time to, set the ground and think of yourself doing it and sending it to your friend. Now, as you identified your member or rather your pair, you can actually continue this to little more time after the session or maybe at any of your leisure timing and complete your task and submit back to artifact file. So how well were you doing? Can I hear from some of you? Were you doing something or rather was it really efficient session where you were thinking how to navigate through your TNO framework, how to position and embed TNA communication plan in your introduction? Did it make any sense to you? Can I hear from one of you? Hello friends. ඔයාලන්ට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද?
It does, sir. It's like, one thing it made me thinking like, it looks like a little more complicated. Because we have to make like, right choices and we had a very brief time to talk like, as a partners because we were really busy doing our own stuff first. But even when I read my colleagues Shadi's one, I felt like, wow, I was asking the same kind of a question. So I was struggling to move forward without like, doing much, but like, trying to take my own decisions by like, asking all these different questions. And it made me like, little slow in my process, but Eshadi was so good and she had gone forward and like, complete the task. So I was asking when she read her one also, I was reflecting, these are the places like, if I am in her subject, don't I know this fact? Should she put it there? Kind of like, kind of a question. So it's really helpful for me to like, even to look at my own writing. And so I think it's like more like starting to write a real content, maybe from our own work. So it's very exciting.
Thank you, Mahesh, for revealing how you felt it there. Yes, genuinely. These actually scaffoldings are carefully planned, and you are given just a rehearsal time to do what you are expected, right? And that you can extend that rehearsal time into real work in the backdrop, behind the backdrop, and produce your artifact. And actually, I am to teach you your thinking process, the writing process, and of course, guiding you holistically, not content sensitively or not discipline sensitively, but to help you think how to navigate through readers' way of approaching your writing. I think I'm doing my thing, or rather my role, to the best I am capable of doing. I want to hear from one of you further how you actually felt about introduction now. Now, you began it with nowhere, maybe with maybe some of you, the exceptional cases can be there who knows how to do it properly. But if there is anyone who found a way how to design your writing craft, starting from the introduction, please reflect it. It will be encouraging for me and for the rest of your friends to listen and understand. I would love to hear from one more. What about our ladies? Rashmi, I heard hardly from you. Can I hear from you how you felt this activity and how are you feeling about writing the introduction? Rashmi from architecture, are you there? All right. Eshadi, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So how you felt?
Yeah, I think so one thing is mainly like whenever we kind of do this kind of activity, it makes us feel like it makes the research more clearer to us. Because on when we answer like step by step, like when you kind of when I was answering this these questions, territory, niche, and like what should the readers first understand, so it made me easier to answer the kind of it made me easier to draft the 5 to 6 like 5 to 6 um, like the opening sequence through that. So uh, I think it's a really good approach, and also it made me think really hard about like, so what does why does it matter? Of course, we answer these questions like unknowingly when we do the research, but answering it specifically within a very small framework is really helpful. But we didn't have a lot of time, so Mahesh and I couldn't kind of complete the whole thing. But yeah, it was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I received a typed sentence here. Let me read out for you. This is from UW. Yes, what she says. It makes sense, good approach, but the main concern is identify what are the blind areas of my audience, which prevent them of understanding our research finding. Our audience is very diverse than we think. Most of the time, the main information that we hope to deliver is not getting to them, but part of it may reach to them. Yes, UW, if you happen to be there in the first session, or rather just happen to view through first two sessions, I told you quite interestingly and quite what we call extensively, your research, how it's going to be pitched or rather projected to a particular audience. So the first step of your research writing is before you take the pen and your thoughts are ready, because you are doing the research, you know everything about the research, but when you put your pen on paper, you should know to whom you're writing. And based on your audience, his background, his level of knowledge, and your expectation of writing this to that particular person, it's not for an individual that you're writing. It could be if you're writing to a journal, that is to a wider audience of your field. And if you're writing to a supervisor, he is guiding through your exam, what you call research. And if you're writing to a fellow researcher of your field, you know what you are expecting from them. Or rather, if you're writing it to a general audience, you know what should come more and what should come less. So this decision of taking your audience right in the first place is actually the first step of research writing. I am inviting you to revisit the first two sessions on which we have discussed it a lot. Hiruni, can you talk about this? Yes, you have written. Can you tell it in your own words, please?
Yes, because this map was kind of new to me, and even though I didn't have that in my mind, I have drafted my prior work without putting much effort to this. But I can think about this interesting. That's how I felt during the session. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I received a typed sentence here. Let me read out for you. This is from UW. Yes, what she says. It makes sense, good approach, but the main concern is identify what are the blind areas of my audience, which prevent them of understanding our research finding. Our audience is very diverse than we think. Most of the time, the main information that we hope to deliver is not getting to them, but part of it may reach to them. Thank you, Hirani. And the write-up you did before knowing the TNO map can now be revisited with TNO map. And there you will find how better can you project your message to the reader. I'm sure that it will work better than you expect if you try and apply the TNO approach with it, because you have a pre-written introduction. By the time you write it, you have no idea about TNO, but you now have, and you may be able to fill the gaps wherever necessary and fill it right. Thank you, Hirini, for your reflection. Well, my dear friends, with that, we can move to the end of today's discussion. So, before submitting your portfolio, use these self-checks. If your gap supported and specific, or is it only plausible at this stage and still needing evidence, check them before you submit. Does your purpose respond to the gap, or has it moved into a different problem? If so, how should you, diverge it back to pitch to the niche you identified? Does the sequence guide the reader from field to need to study, right? The 3 steps are field, need, and study. Please be honest with these checks. One honest, not yet, is more useful than a confident, but unsupported gap claim. Now, when you make a gap claim, if you're not honest enough to be truthful to TNO approach, which means you are not responding to your reader's mindset. So think of it once again. Typically, research writing develops through revision. So there will be no final perfect thing. You can fine tune it, further tune it, and make it quite edible for your reader. The aim is not to sound certain too clear early, but to make you aware what your reader needs, what your evidence supports, and what your study belongs. So if you are catering to those readers' mind, you are going to put your research in their mind without a doubt. From the very first day, if you could remember, I was talking about crystal clear communication and telepathic communication. These are the 2 objectives that we are expecting to achieve in research communication. If your mind and if your research idea, your research prose can be clearly projected in your reader's mind, crystal clear, that is the final objective. And in this crystal clear communication, if you are to get into the shoes of the reader, you will be easily navigating what? You will be easily navigating how a reader feels it. So that telepathic communication happens when you apply yourself into reader's mindset and read what you have written and revise. So that is perfectly what I am expecting from you to do here. So before you submit, do this self-check and submit, and I'll try my best to upload everything of last night's discussion and this morning's discussion into Moodle. And you have a sufficient deadline to submit artifact file. With that, I'm going to wind up today's session here, but there is an exit sentence that you have to craft. To close, please complete this sentence in the chat. A strong introduction does not merely provide background. It helps the reader understand. So you have to fill the blanks. Reader understands something. You know what that something is, right? Please quickly reflect on what we have done today and complete this sentence and send me on chat. This sentence is going to be a bridge to the next session, right? We actually today created the research space. In the forthcoming session, we will look more closely at how literature is synthesized inside the space. So literature and synthesizing of review of the literature and identifying the gap very specifically will be the task that we'll be doing next week. ensure that you save your worksheet. It will help you complete portfolio artifact file. So I'm receiving your responses. It helps the reader understand why does the study matter or rights assembly. Need of further examination? Yes, Mahesh. Yes, Akila. Understand the broader context, purpose of the specific niche, and how the study is occupying the stated gap or niche. Yes. All right. Well, yes, Yatmi. Yes, Tilanka. Yes, Nadani. Yes, Marsha. In 3 words, those who have done with the sentence can send in 3 words. How do you feel now after studying this TNO approach and the new insights? How now do you feel about writing your introduction? Are you informed a working framework for you to renegotiate your introduction, or have I killed and wasted your time to mess it further? Just use 3 words and tell me how you felt after today's session. Akhila, I'm glad. If you feel like, scrap your introduction again, yes, that's what the objective of all this is. Just renegotiated to work well. Yes, you're doing your job, yes, that is doing research, that is sustaining STEM field, but I'm here to guide you through communicating your research to your audience. That is what I'm doing here. Marsha, you find you had a point, yes. You did not complete your introduction yet. But let me say, if you had completed it already, you have a second chance of fine-tuning it. But you are going to do it knowing how to organize the things together. Well, thank you very much, dear ladies and gentlemen, for spending your time with me in this very morning. I know Sunday is not a holiday. It's going to be holiday for all of you. You have family, you have your personal commitments as well as your research. And of course, you have other things to attend other than the research and job and the rest. Amid all that, you all happen to tolerate me and you were supporting me a lot. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you on this Thursday. Since then, have a great time and do your work and put your work into more methodical output. Yes, Mary. Okay. Thank you very much. Looking forward to see you next week. Good luck.